Welcome back to the Pirate 30, where we go over all of your favorite ECU sports or 30 minutes or less. My name is Mason.
I'm Jake. Let's get to it.
Every single week, we're going to start doing a little segment called Highlight of the Week. This week, I think you guys all know what's coming
It's got to
up.
be the half-court shot.
It's got to be the
Absolutely has
half-court
to be.
shot. It came up this past
Insane.
week versus Kennesaw State on Tuesday. We won the game 85-84 off a buzzer beater half-court shot from Bobby Pettiford. We got to mention that before we get into anything else. I mean, absolutely ridiculous play.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Out of our minds.
One of the best plays of the entire week for like any sports.
We made ESPN top 10.
Yep,
that's
how good it was.
Yeah, I think it was number 1. I'm pretty sure, but it was awesome.
Should have been.
Everybody saw the highlights. He hit the shot. The lights started bouncing on and off. The people were going crazy. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but we had to mention it to start off the podcast, start off the episode, our 4th episode or 5th episode to begin the series. But we're gonna get into football for a second, and we'll get back to basketball a little bit later. Just to run into the football game. Pretty solid week. Good week offensively, not so good defensively, but there were some highlights to be made. We're officially coming away from the season. It was the last game of the season. We're coming
last home game and last game of the season.
Yeah.
So.
We mentioned a few weeks ago, come out if you're going to be here, because we knew it was over Thanksgiving break. There were some people in the stadium, definitely not the most packed stadium in the world, but some people showed up for the Pirates. Last game of the season, we went in 10-9, finished 10 or 2, or we went in 2-9. 10-9 would have been much better. We went in 2-9. We finished 2-10. So definitely not the greatest season in the world for the Pirates. We've said that multiple times, but
I think this was a good game. Overall.
Yeah. It was at least an entertaining game.
It was way better because last game,
wow.
At least we scored this game, right?
Yeah.
This was definitely more of an entertaining game to watch.
Yeah, that Navy game the previous week was that was a rough football game to watch.
So even though we ended up losing, this was definitely a step up in a lot of aspects.
Yeah. But quick. The game overall, it finished 29-27 off of a field goal from Tulsa. We played Tulsa at home. They got the ball down in our territory, kicked a field goal at the end. We tried to ice him, didn't work. He nailed it. They won the game to finish off both their season and finish off our season. We headed into the game 2-9. They headed in 3-8. So not a game that we necessarily were completely expected to lose. We had a chance the whole game. The offense was rolling for the first half. They definitely slowed down the second half. In the end, couldn't get it done. Wasn't a good defensive game.
It pretty much went how I was expecting, at least, because 2-9, 3-8, those are the records. Were pretty even, I'd say.
Not a lot of blowout expectations.
I thought it would probably be like a close game, and then once it went down to it, Tulsa ended up kicking a field goal. Again, you hate to see it come down to a field goal, but at
least
congrats,
a close
Tulsa.
game. Yeah, at least
very
something
close. I think it was way more offensive dominant than we're used to seeing.
Yeah,
I think both offenses really showed out. It was really great.
I'm happy to see that. Just to end.
Usually it's been the defense that's been like the star of the show.
Yeah,
but the offense actually really came out here and gave us a good game. So.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that. Like we said, didn't have the greatest defensive game, but we came out, we threw the ball, we got it down the field. It definitely slowed down in the second half. Flynn started to turn the ball over more. We had less momentum in the second half, but in the first half we came out firing. So did Tulsa. That's why it was a really close game, because they got past our secondary a lot. The running game specifically, their running back Anthony Watkins, he came out
and tearing it up.
Yeah, he torched us. But both running backs, because Rajay had his best game of the season, wasn't even close. Before this game, his season high was 62 yards. After this game, Rajay finished the game with, if I look back, give me 1 second. Rajay finished the game with 21 carries for 145 yards to complete it. So when you go from a 62-yard high, season high, to 145 yards in a game,
tells you something. The offense is really showing out.
Yeah, we were rolling,
especially in the run game.
We were rolling.
Both sides.
We talked about it. We talked about it a few weeks ago about how the pass game and the run game, how they complement each other. Mm-hmm. This was a perfect example of that, because Rajay came out. He fired to begin with. He was running the ball down the field. He's getting a lot of them were outside of the box. He wasn't going as much through the middle, but he was running the ball outside. It was working. He was torching them on the outside, and then that led to Flynn bombing balls down the field. Eventually, that all slowed down. Rajay still had a pretty good second half, but they all started to slow down. And like I said, they complement each other. So when one starts to not work, the other also seems to not work.
Yeah, just another example of kind of like starting the game really strong and then kind of
slowing down,
but
seems to be what our.
I think at least instead of the first quarter, like it's usually been, it was the first half.
Yeah,
I think we had a really strong first half.
I thought we had it. I mean, I feel like we say that a lot when we start to take a lead, but it's that momentum. We go back to momentum so many times. It just feels like we have it, and then all of a sudden it gets lost. And we talked about when it comes to that whole complimenting factor, when you have a game managing quarterback, because we don't have a necessary star quarterback. I think everybody knows that. But when you have a quarterback that's meant to be a game manager, not turn the ball over, just make the right plays in order to come down and get a win. When you have a running back that's a star the whole game, that really helps with that whole game managing aspect. But when he starts to slow down, you need that game manager to make more plays. He couldn't make them towards the end, and that led towards the loss. So that was hard to see. But
yep, absolutely. I think down when it came down to the end, I think we just kind of gave it up. But I think it could have been easily anyone's game. There was just some big mistakes, some kind of questionable official calls. But yeah, in the end, congrats Tulsa for coming.
Yeah, we can get into that interception later on. Let's run down the first half. Yeah,
we do need to get into that.
We can run down. We're gonna run down the first half. There's a specific interception we're talking about, but let's run down the first half and then we'll get into that because I believe that was the third quarter.
Yep.
But yeah, that call was definitely iffy, but it is what it is. The game started off with the Tulsa running back Anthony Watkins running a 46-yard rush on the first play of the game. That wasn't a good start. It looked like it was going to be real bad. We ended up stuffing them on a 3rd and 12, and then they had a huge 31. That's the thing is, like there wasn't even that many, at least it felt like, intermediate passes coming from the Tulsa quarterback. By the way, a redshirt freshman, the Tulsa quarterback. But there was times where he would just bomb it down the field and he was just a wide receiver be completely open. That happened at the beginning of the game for a 31-yard passing touchdown from the redshirt freshman on a 3rd and 12, which is rough. You stuff them.
That's not, you never like seeing
it's
that.
It's not what you want to see. Yeah, you get them to a 3rd and 12. And 31-yard passing touchdown. It's similar to like what we saw in the Alabama game this week when they got to like a 4th and 36.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where you play good, you get on one of the last downs, and then they just bomb something. And it happens to work. You let it up, and it's just rough to see, but it is what it is. That Bama game was insane. The end of that game was crazy. But yeah, you just don't want to see that. And then but Flynn came out. Rajay really came out. He came out with a 50-yard touchdown to begin the game, his 5th touchdown of the season, the only touchdown he had on the game. But yeah, just a hot start from him.
Let's talk about the blocked field goal as well, because our special teams defense has continued to just
second week in a row.
Yeah, second week in a row, blocked field goal.
Yeah, so
our special teams defense is really killing it.
They're coming out hot. Yeah, special teams is causing they're causing a lot of turnovers, causing big things to happen. I don't even know how many times we've mentioned momentum on this podcast, but it can't. One of those are things that change the game. Those are the things that get.
Changers. Turnovers.
Puts thoughts into the sideline, makes them confident in themselves and their ability to play the game. And that's one of those things that changes it. Sadly, it couldn't carry on to the rest of the game completely because it's like we come back from halftime. We come out of the locker room. We just it's like a refresh. Like no matter how much momentum we have going in, it just refreshes and then we lose it. I don't know what it is. We got there's something going on in that locker room at halftime that we come out and we just come out slow half the time. I don't know what it is, but yeah. But then we move on second half. Let's just hop into the second quarter, honestly. Tulsa had a 33-yard pass pretty much the beginning of the second quarter that led to them getting the ball at the 1-yard line. Then they ended up running the ball straight in. Couldn't do much about that.
1 yard.
So, but that also led to Alex Flynn rolling out of the pocket and throwing a 32-yard pass on what I believe is his best pass, his best throw of the entire season. He got out of the pocket. A lot of times when we've seen ECU quarterbacks make it out of the pocket this season, they just tuck it and run.
Yeah.
And with Flynn, it usually ends up being like 2 or 3
He ended up making a great throw.
Yeah, a ridiculous throw. Yeah,
I was expecting. Awesome. I thought he was going to run.
Yeah, I did too. Well,
he's like, absolutely. I'm going to throw it this time.
Whether it's him or Mason. They always run the ball. I don't know what it's like. They don't look down the field after they get out of the pocket.
So yeah, definitely great play by Flynn to actually be able to look downfield in a stressful situation and find someone open. So
make the pass. Yeah,
absolutely.
It was easily his best pass this season. He floated it to the end zone, and the whole stadium. I mean, people that were there.
the people that were there.
The people that were there, they were rocking. They were rocking after that play, though. That's the type of play we've needed to see all season. Like we said, a 3-yard run is one thing. That's what they always do. It's been him and Mason. It's not just Flynn. Whether we put both of them in, it feels like when they get out of the pocket, they need to run. They don't look down the field to make something happen. Finally, they made it. And great play by the wide receiver. He was completely open. He made it past the secondary. So I was happy to see that. It wasn't like it was contested. That dude had some room. So that was awesome to see. Chase Sowell also had a great game. Just to shout him out real quick. He's been a star all season. A freshman for our squad, sitting right next to Jalen Johnson. He had another great game this week. So that was good to see. Another star highlight player. We hope he sticks around, develops with this team because the team could really use him. But yeah, he's definitely a shining light on our offense. We said it last week. It's just mentioned again this week. And then he had a 41-yard catch in the second quarter after that touchdown. But before that happened, We had an awesome interception in that second quarter too.
We did.
Dude had bunnies. He jumped up. He had hops. He jumped out of the stadium to catch an interception. So that was awesome. But no, you love to see that though.
Love turnovers. We love them.
Siobhan Revel. I think definitely his biggest play of the season. We haven't seen him, at least since we've started the podcast, we haven't seen him make a play like that yet this season. So other parts of that defense just standing out because we mentioned guys like Deontay Johnson multiple times. But this guy, yeah, no, he finally stood out and made a play. I believe number 26, but I might be wrong. But yeah, just great interception. Once again, momentum changer, give the ball right back. And that was after we had scored, after Flynn made the great pass. So getting an interception, get the ball right back.
But then unfortunately, halftime came around and we couldn't immediately keep up.
Nothing. Yeah, it's just nothing. I don't know. I said it's got to be. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad locker room. I'm not going to come out and say that. But like, for some reason, we go into halftime and there's just no. It's not.
I think it is kind of how because we have to start again. Kind of like it's like we take a break. I feel like if there was no halftime or this was in like a later quarter, like we would have kept it up.
Yeah,
because we were rolling. And then all of a sudden it was like we had to go to the locker room. But you know, I think
I don't know if it's also like, I mean, again, you have to also look at it as like it's a 2-9 team heading into the last game of the season. Like they know this is their last game, so it could just be like, all right, let's finish up. Like there's not a lot of momentum because they know there's not like a bowl game coming. It's the last game of the season, so that could be it. But yeah, definitely just. It's been happening all season, but the momentum just slowed down. We saw Flynn start to make more mistakes in the second half. He made his first one. I believe he threw his first pick in that second half, which led to 2 picks in total. He threw 2 in that second half. But yeah, I mean,
it wasn't even that. It wasn't even the offense. The defense. You know, there was 2 pass interferences in a row.
But that second one, I thought,
and he's one of our best players.
One of our best players, at least in the secondary. It was Revel Jr. So the same guy that made the interception earlier also got the 2 pass interferences in the second half. I thought the first one was like I was fine with the first one. It is what it is.
But then the second one was kind of
iffy. Yeah, it was starting to become like
we started making more mistakes in the second half. Definitely.
Yeah.
Both offense and defense.
It came from a guy that made a huge play earlier. So I'm not. It's not a terribly big deal, but also not something.
But it's worth mentioning, especially when we're talking about the second half. Kind of like more mistakes were slowing down a little bit.
Yeah,
even like though we were rolling into the half like with great like momentum.
Also, speaking of the refs though, and making calls, let's mention what we talked about earlier. I think that was an interception. It was a close call. It was close. I'm not going to say it was like a far away.
The thing was, it was ruled on the field as an interception.
Yeah,
and it was basically it could have gone either way, but because it was ruled an interception, like you need beyond a shadow of a doubt that it wasn't one.
Yeah,
in order to overturn it.
To begin with, it was an interception,
and I think it definitely could have gone either way. But because the ruling on the field was an interception, it's like, come on.
You don't think that's something you can call back? Yeah. Not enough evidence to actually call it back.
I mean, you could definitely say like maybe it wasn't, but there was still like doubt.
When you make that call, you need undoubtedly evident or undoubt evidence that it is that on the field. But
and that could have easily been like a game changer.
Yeah,
like prevent them from scoring, and then we get the ball on our own like 20.
Yeah,
instead of them scoring. So
it was an insane play too.
It was great.
Yeah, it was the best play of the game, and they called it back. But yeah, that's just not. There wasn't enough evidence to take that back. There wasn't, but. I don't know. Because they repeat that to you over and over again when things like that happen. When you listen to a game and an announcer talks about it, they say over and over there needs to be enough evidence to call the play back, to reverse it. And I just don't. I don't think there was.
It cut to the stadium, the fans in there, and they were so
pissed. Yeah, they were screaming. They were screaming. Because they knew how big it was. It's things like that where you come out and the offense is ready to get back on the field and start rolling. And then you take them back. You say, no, you got to get back on the sideline.
Yeah.
You put the defense back out there after what they think was a huge play. And it's just nothing.
But even though, that is very unfortunate, we did stop them from scoring a touchdown. They had to settle for a field goal.
We did. We
came out probably pretty pissed, the defense.
Yeah.
They were probably like, are you kidding me? All right.
Yeah. But it's just there wasn't a lot. Also, I don't know if we've mentioned this yet. There wasn't a lot of interior pressure put on the defensive line. He
was scrambling just up the middle.
Yeah.
Like almost
all the time. That last drive.
It was like every single play on that drive. He was just like he would take the ball and then just run up the middle.
Yeah, we were getting pressure on the edge. The edges were making it there.
Yeah, that's why. But the middle was wide open.
Him on the outside, but the middle was just he had so much separation, so he would just step up in the pocket, run forward, and just bomb it. Which is how they eventually beat us. Because on that last drive, he stepped up into the pocket and just ran forward and threw the ball down the field. Almost every play, it felt like. And so, yeah, that especially in that, I'm not going to say the whole game, but in the second half, and especially on that second drive or in that last drive, yeah, the interior pressure just wasn't there. He was stepping up into the pocket and just firing the ball. That got them into the field goal range that they eventually kicked the ball from. But yeah, no, it was rough, but not the worst game in the world. Again, it was just happy to see.
It really did come down to a field goal. Yeah, at that point, it's basically anyone's ball game. You're just relying on, the kicker to actually seal the deal.
And Mike Houston, after the game, in one of the interviews, mentioned clock management, and I think he mentioned how he talked about making timeouts at certain other points in the game or towards the end of the game when that all happened. We tried to ice him. I thought maybe it would work, but it wasn't the hardest kick in the world. They got into really good.
But the icing is very it affects the mental state of the
game. It does, yeah. I thought it might have
just puts more pressure on him,
especially when you're in that stadium, final home game of the year.
Yeah,
it came close. We came close, but just couldn't get the job done. Flynn, like we said, second half wasn't the cleanest second half in the world. Made some mistakes, but yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Overall, it's not like a terrible final game. I think if the Navy game was the final game, then that would be very upsetting. But I think this came down pretty well.
Just to prove it too, because we keep talking about how they slowed down in the second half. Tulsa had 239 yards heading into the fourth quarter. We had 160, or passing yards heading into the fourth quarter. So we started off the game hot, and then second half he just couldn't get the job done. They were still firing down the field, and that led to them. In terms of passing yardage, there was a big block between our team and their team. But
Tulsa was just able to do what we couldn't do and just keep it up, keep going into the second half.
Yeah. So. Oh wait, we have to mention this too. We had a lead in the game. It was when it was 27-26 before they kicked the field goal to win it. And we ran a trick play to Raji. Because we had the lead.
Yeah.
All we needed was a first down in the game. I don't think it would have been iced, but it would have been pretty much finished at that point. They would have had a very small amount of time.
Yeah, we had the ball. What yard line were we on?
I can't remember. It was around
and all we needed were a few first downs, right?
That was it. Even just one would have ran out so much.
We decided to run a wildcat, which is like an incredibly risky play because someone else is taking the snap instead of the quarterback, then we fumbled, which is something that is probably pretty common.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like
to run a trick play.
Yeah, if you want to do it throughout the game at times to gather some momentum, that's one thing.
All you need to do is run it up the middle, get a first down, and then
want to ice the game.
Boom,
and you have a running back that's running for 150 yards
he was
in the game.
It.
Yeah, and now you want to run a play like that. It leads to a fumble. There was I didn't see a reason for it.
Very questionable play calling.
There's absolutely no reason for that. I just didn't understand it. It ended, and I was just like, why? Why would you do that? That carried the momentum. That gave them the ball back, and eventually they kicked it to win the game. But yeah, there was just no reason for that. We haven't done that like all season. Yeah. Why now? Why in a season that's full of screen passes are we gonna do that to finish it off? It just made no sense to me.
Yeah.
Play the game safe. Finish it off. You have a game managing quarterback.
It's one of the only times I would have wanted a screen pass.
Yeah,
they were throwing it all season. I'm just like, all right, throw a screen pass. And it's just wildcat. I don't know.
Just throw a screen pass. Just do
it.
Just do it.
Please throw a screen pass.
But no, there was no reason for that. It's just, you have a game managing quarterback that's not that mobile, and you just do a wildcat. You snap it to the running back because Flynn was in on the play. When they snapped it, it was like a motion play where Flynn ran. They started off. They all ran to the right, and then they snapped it to him on the run, and it ended up in a fumble. There was no reason. That was a huge reason we lost the game. But there's not much you can do about it. In the end, just to sum up the game, we gave it up at the end. Final game of the season, gave it up at the end. Rajay had a great game, 145 yards with 21 carries. Flynn was 12 for 18 with 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And their quarterback, true freshman, which, by the way, or not true freshman, redshirt freshman, he had a freshman to freshman connection. He threw a touchdown to his tight end in the end zone.
Yeah, that team has a lot of potential. A lot of young guys
they got some stuff going. Francis was balling. He threw 37 passes, putting the ball in a redshirt freshman's hands and letting him throw the ball 37 because we had Flynn throw the ball 18 times. So
I think
they were airing the ball out.
I think I mentioned it earlier. I think that this was definitely not the worst game to end on.
No,
even though we did, unfortunately, we lost, but it was a very exciting game. There were definitely points being put up. Both teams were fighting down to the wire. Ended with a field goal, unfortunately, but I think that this was a solid end to season because we are now 2-10. And I think a game that comes down to it, and it's like really close, I think that's definitely a plus to have as the closing game of the season.
Imagine if it was Navy.
Just we end with 0 points.
Yeah, 10-0.
How upsetting would that be? Yeah. But I'm glad we actually the offense really showed out. I think this is one of their best games, I believe, from all season.
I would have liked some more. Like looking back, I would have liked some more passing from Flynn in general. Like Matt, I would have liked to see
after this game. Yeah, he was
only had 18. Like just looking back at it, seeing that Francis, their quarterback, had 37 passing attempts in general, and Flynn only had 18. I don't know. I feel like we could have aired the ball out a little bit more, but it is what it is. But yeah, overall,
yep.
2-10. 2-10.
That's the football season, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Next week, we're gonna do an overview of just the entire season in general. Not long or anything, just quick. Mention the team, go over the highlights, talk about some players that we think deserve to be talked about, and just give an overview of the season before we wrap it up. In general, it's sad it's over.
It is.
Yeah,
we will definitely get into some of that next week, but I think it's time to move on to basketball.
Yeah,
we got some things to talk about. Absolutely. So yeah, how about that half court shot? We'll get into that game. We'll get into that game in a little bit, but still absolutely have to mention it. That was one of the best plays.
Ridiculous. Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but yeah, ESPN top 10. I can't remember exactly.
When was the last time we made ESPN top 10?
I don't. Yeah, it's been quite a while, especially for the basketball team. It's been quite a while. But yeah, easily play of the season. Not even close so far. If you saw, do you see like the videos of the locker room of like all of them going crazy and everything? That was awesome. It was awesome to see everybody on the court going crazy. I would have loved to be there. I wish I was, but we were not at the game, sadly. But yeah, that looked like an absolute blast seeing that happen in real time. But yeah, that guy's gotten so much praise all week for hitting that shot. Not only that, just a great game. We can get into it, but he did have a season high in the game. He had a great game in general.
I think we should start with Georgia Southern.
Yeah. But let's get into the first game.
So we are now 4-3, right?
4-3. Yeah, 4-3. After this game, we were 3-2. Because we went into the game 2-2. We started off 2-0, had 2 rough losses, got into the Georgia Southern game.
But it was
3-2.
We blew them out.
We did. Yeah, that's our best game of the week by far. We were up 37-29 at half. I'll talk about it more with the game that we had lost this week, but with a lot of games that the wins versus losses, the score at half changes a lot of it. In the games that we've lost, we've been losing at half in 2 out of the 3 so far. And that makes a big when you come out at half and you have a lead.
Yeah,
we've talked
about
it.
Everyone feels way better when you have a lead coming out at half. Everyone feels good. They're just like, let's just keep it rolling.
Yeah, playing with a lead is a lot easier than coming from behind. We've seen that this season so far. But yeah, 37-29 at half. We saw Brandon Johnson's return from a non-COVID related illness. After the last 2 games, he wasn't able to play the last 2 games. He played the first 2 and we went 2-0. We saw his absence made a big deal in the court, and then he came out. Once again, another huge win, another not even close win. Like that's what we're seeing is when we win. Most of our wins so far, 3 out of the 4 of our wins are blowouts. We're killing teams. And the one was close that Bobby Pettiford hit the miracle, but in most of them, we're blowing these teams out. It's not even close. All right, and Quentin DeBougie had 27 points. Yeah, career high versus Georgia Southern. Definitely our biggest player. We talked about it when Brandon went out last week that people need to step up and take that second role because I think we all feel RJ Felton's the best player on the team overall.
But Brandon being out, we needed someone else to come
take that second role.
Take that second role.
Yeah. We've seen a few people step up since that happened. Ezra Asar was another big name we talked about last week. Another guy that's going to step up. But yeah, Quentin DeBougie, a big name, career high 27 points and 5 rebounds versus Georgia Southern on Monday. And also RJ had a game himself, 19 points, 8 rebounds. And Brandon Johnson on his return game, he had a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. So it was good to see that. We hit 56% from the field, 46 from 3. Both great numbers. 70% from free throw. We talked about that last week. One of the games we lost, we hit like 60% free throws.
Yeah, we were talking about last week especially. It seemed like there was always one aspect that we were lacking in, like whether that be threes or free throws. But this was a solid showing for
all around.
Just all around great percentages.
Yeah. Also, something I was really surprised to see from this game. We had 26 points in the paint, which is our lowest out of any game this season yet. We still put up 82 points, still blew the team out. So that shows you're hitting more shots from the mid-range, hitting some threes from the outside. I looked at it, there wasn't a crazy amount of threes, but yeah, definitely more mid-range than it was the last few weeks. I was happy to see that. It's not just guys driving into the paint, which you want to see. You need to get those points from the paint. But to see them and see that they're able to hit those shots from the mid-range was awesome to see. I was happy to see that. But yeah, just overall, as a team, good return. Brandon didn't put up a lot of points on his return back, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and dog on any of that. When you obviously that
he's trying to get back into it. He's coming off illness.
Yeah. also that gave Quentin more chances. That gave him the ball more.
He really stepped up, especially when needed in this time where he's slowly trying to make it back.
Yeah.
So
this isn't a team where it's like we said we think we know who our few stars are. We said we think it's Brandon and RJ as the top two, but it's not a team where it's for sure. Like this is a race to see who's the best on the team. Obviously, you want to see them play as a team, but a lot of guys are going to get opportunities. You just want them to take the rock and play with it a little bit, and that's exactly what happened.
Great game overall, but let's get into this next one that was a little bit closer, to say the least.
Yeah, a little bit more stressful.
Maybe a little bit more stressful, a little bit closer,
sweat-inducing, if you want
down to the buzzer beater. We already talked about that. We'll probably talk about it more, but we were down actually at half.
Yeah, 47-43.
Which is,
that's the only game we've been down at half that we win, and we won because of
we won. But it was, a miracle.
Yeah.
So again, we are down at half, and then we come out and then almost lose it this time. But we usually do lose it when we're down at half. But we did have a great ending to this game.
Yeah. They hit a shot for what it seemed like the end of the game. I think there was around like 2.7 seconds left, maybe 2.7, 3.4, something like that. But they put the hands in the or the ball in the hands of Bobby Pettiford, one of our best guards on this team, and he came out, put up 18 points, which was a season high to begin with. Had his best game of the season. Obviously, hit the huge shot at the end. You saw it everywhere on every social media. Everybody posted. ESPN, Sup Dogs posted it, which I thought was pretty cool. ESPN shouted them out too. Which yeah. If you go check out the top 10, they're like Greenville, where you have sports and Sup Dogs.
We have more than those two things. But we appreciate.
We're definitely more than those.
We're not just Sup Dogs.
Yeah, we're not just Sup Dogs, but do go check out the Sups live show.
Yeah, definitely.
ECU Sports Network, our Instagram page. We run that as well. So go check that out. They do some good work over there. Every Thursday we do the Sups live show. But so go check out that. We got our buddy Maceo helping out with that over there. They got interviews too. So they have people from all different sports coming in and talking, sitting down at Subs to talk about it. It's a great show. But to get into this game a little bit more, like we said, Pettiford had a good game. RJ Felton also came out and had a double-double, 19 points, 10 rebounds. Good to see that. Ezra Asar, we said last week when Brandon Johnson was out, he came in, made some plays for our team, even though we had some 2 tough losses. But he had 14 points, 9 rebounds. He was also close to a double-double. And
Brandon Johnson, still trying to get back.
Solid, yeah. He
hasn't scored much since he came back, but he's getting back to it.
He's still making some plays though. He's a good defender as well. But we didn't say this last week. I wanted to mention this. Ezra Sarr had 24 points at a season high versus USC Upstate last week. So just to mention that as well, because I don't think we mentioned his name. We talked about him, but we definitely didn't mention he had a season high. So in games that we lost, once again, happy to see people step up, make some plays when they need to be made. We did shoot 27% from 3, which is definitely a big reason why we were down before the miracle.
Definitely lower, but
so that didn't help with it. And we did say we were losing at half in 2 out of the 3 of our losses. And this would have been another loss where once again we were losing at half if we didn't hit that miracle shot. Just something
we had a god throwing it on half court. Luckily, thank you. Thank you for saving us.
A god amongst men. A god amongst men. Yeah.
But we were definitely lacking in the threes this game at least.
Yeah, we gotta raise that percentage up. And it's gone back and forth. It's not every game. It's one game we'll have a solid game from 3. Other games slows down a bit. But
free throws were looking nice though.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that. We had 42 points in the paint for this game too, compared to the 26 in the first game. So we were getting down in there a little bit more.
So now
making it work up front. But
coming off of a great win, one that came down to the wire, we also had a pretty bad loss, unfortunately. Yeah,
but that was the best team we played all season. The George Mason
2-1 on the week is they're really good.
Yeah.
And 2-1 on the week is not bad, especially when we played pretty great like the other 2 games, especially the first one. But this one was pretty rough. But
the boys came in against their biggest competition of the season, the George Mason Pirates that are now George Mason Patriots. They're now 5-1 after this game. So they're definitely our biggest competition, and we didn't exactly play up to it. RJ Felton had his roughest game of the season so far, 2 for 10, 5 points. So it wasn't too good. Brandon Johnson, one of the high scorers in the game, 13 points, 4 for 12. So he started to get back scoring.
It's good to see Brandon Johnson starting to get back towards the end of
not very accurate, but sorry, it's just like it was rough. We were down 26-17 in this game in the first half. We went on a 9-0 run to tie it at 26-26. I thought we were back.
That was good.
Yeah, I thought, okay, good. Let's lead this. Let's get into the half with a lead. But
we see that the offense kind of started rough, but then once it went to the second half, the defense was kind of letting
they
up.
Just gave it up defensively.
We couldn't have both like working great at the same time.
Yeah. But
it was we were down at half, so as we know that's not good.
Yeah.
When we come out down, usually end up losing far. But
we just need to play with leads coming out. That's pretty much it. Like that's what I've learned the most is that this team coming out down, it's not terrible. Like most of our losses have been close. Like one of them last week was 83-21 or not 83-81, something like that. So we had another
it was really close. That one went down to it.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was between like 4 and 6 points. Yeah, so we're this is the only blowout loss we've had all season. Outside of this, it's close losses or blowout wins. But we just need to come out leading.
But I think especially if we just come out firing in the first half, then some of that momentum will just kind of naturally go into the second half because we're up and everyone's like excited. They're like, let's keep going. Let's keep these points going up.
Yeah, but we just can't. We had some runs. That's the thing.
We did have
about this game is we would have runs
against a good team nonetheless. Yeah, like these guys really knew how to play.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of hope for this team because we've obviously it's been weeks and weeks of mentioning the positive things we can take away from basketball or from football. There are a lot of good things we can take away from this basketball team. This is a solid basketball team. But we went on some runs and then they would just take it away from us and we would have a completely cold streak. But yeah, that 9-0 run in the first half, I really thought we were going to get it going. We couldn't carry it. Second half, we just completely gave it up and we ended up losing the game 81-59. So yeah, that was rough. Over 20-point loss. But it is what it is. That easily, when you look at the percentages as well, not even close our worst game of the season. 34.5 from the field, 30% from three, and 61 from the free throw line. I think that ties our lowest for the free throw line, if not 1% off. So, yeah, we're just got to get back to it this week, get the momentum back, get some wins. And so, yeah, just to lead into that, or just some overall notes for the season, RJ averages 20 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, and he still averages 2 steals a game. So he's festering them on defense. Brandon Johnson now averages 15 points per game and 7.8 rebounds per game on the season. But yeah, we're down at half in 2 out of the 3 losses. So that's the biggest takeaway we got for this team this week is that lead the game.
We need to be leading, going out of the locker room in the second half. So
carry that lead. Playing with the lead is a lot easier than playing down. Definitely. So that's basically what we got looking into this week. But speaking of looking into this week, let's go into what we got this week. Let's see what's coming up.
We got a lot of stuff coming up. Yeah, exciting stuff.
We got women's basketball at Wednesday at 11 versus Hampton.
Education
Day. Is also the Education Day game. We also have women's basketball Saturday at 2 versus Copen State. We got men's basketball versus UNCW at 7. You can listen to all of these games on 94.3 The Game. And then we also have women's volleyball, and they made it to the National Invitational Volleyball Championship. They have it Friday at 6 p.m. versus the Citadel. That's such a weird name. I can't. The Citadel.
The Citadel. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. This has been the Pirate 30. I'm Jake.
I'm Mason.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Bang. Bang, bang, bang.